What if we brought Bruce Lee and Carl Jung face to face to debate one of the most profound questions of human existence? Which is more powerful, the mind or the body? Imagine absolute power. What comes to your mind? An impenetrable body, capable of enduring any adversity, or an invincible mind, capable of overcoming even the deepest limitations of existence? Today, we confront this eternal question. Is the mind more powerful than the body? To explore this dilemma, we brought together two brilliant figures who defined human potential in their own eras. On one side, Bruce Lee, martial arts master, philosopher, and an icon who proved with his own body that strength isn't just physical, but also mental. He believed that the mind and body are inseparable, two sides of the same coin. As he famously said, "What you think, you become." On the other side, Carl Jung, the explorer of the human psyche, a man who delved into the depths of the unconscious to uncover the archetypes that shape our thoughts, actions, and emotions. Jung believed that every action, whether physical or mental, is born from the depths of our unconscious. In his words, "Who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakens." Today, they will debate. Bruce Lee and Carl Jung, two intellectual titans of their times, discussing a timeless, universal theme. Is the body truly just an instrument of the mind? Or is the mind a prisoner of the limits imposed by the body? This is a clash of ideas that goes beyond what makes us strong. It dives into what makes us human. And you, the viewer, are about to witness an unprecedented encounter. A debate that may challenge everything you believe about strength, discipline, and human potential. Bruce Jung, the stage is yours.
The mind is the spark that ignites the fire, but the body is the fuel that keeps it burning. Throughout my journey as a martial artist, I've learned that the mind and body cannot be separated. A strong body with a weak mind is like a ship without a rudder, incapable of charting a clear course. Similarly, a powerful mind without a functional body is like a general without an army to lead. For instance, when I suffered a severe back injury, I could have given up. I could have let my mind be consumed by the pain. But by disciplining my body and training relentlessly, I transformed my suffering into strength. The body was the means by which my mind rose again. As I always say, the mind can initiate the movement, but it's the body that executes it. Without physical action, the mind remains only unrealized potential.
An interesting perspective, Bruce, but allow me to offer another viewpoint. Every movement you speak of, whether physical or emotional, does not originate in the body, but in the unconscious. It is the mind, or rather, the vast realm of the unconscious, that shapes our desires, our decisions, and yes, even our physical strength. You speak of discipline, but my question is this. Why did you feel the need to discipline your body in the first place? The answer, Bruce, lies in archetypes. These primordial images we inherit and that guide us. Your journey of physical mastery was not a conscious choice, but rather the manifestation of invisible psychological forces, far beyond the control of the body.
And yet, Jung, the unconscious you speak of cannot express itself on its own. It relies on the body for manifestation. Fear, desire, impulse, all these mental states are experienced physically. During a fight, for instance, the body is the channel through which the mind communicates with the world. If the body fails, what remains of the mind? You can explore the mysteries of the unconscious, but to me, the answer is clear. The body is the medium through which the mind finds meaning in the real world. Training the body is essentially training the mind.
Well, Bruce, but consider this. When the body acts, it does so under the command of the mind. Even the most basic instincts, like the fight or flight reflex, are shaped by the unconscious. Your physical struggles, as impressive as they may be, are merely expressions of a far deeper battle, the internal struggle. Think of the times when the body fails, not because of a lack of strength, but because of mental barriers. Athletes in critical moments, paralyzed by fear. Warriors who surrender not due to physical exhaustion, but because the mind succumbed to doubt. Even your determination, Bruce, is a reflection of the psychological forces that shaped you. Ultimately, the mind not only leads but defines the limits of what the body can achieve.
I don't disagree that the mind plays a crucial role, Jung, but my point is this. The mind cannot exist in a vacuum. It needs the body to express itself and, more importantly, to be trained. When a punch is thrown, it's not just the mind that conceives it, but the body that executes it. Yes, fear and doubt can paralyze the body, but it is physical training that builds mental confidence. As I say, do not pray for an easy life. Pray for the strength to endure a difficult one. That strength comes from the combined effort of mind and body.
Fascinating, Bruce, but you're still overlooking the psychological foundation of your strength. Who decides what is difficult? Who determines the meaning of overcoming adversity? The answer lies in the mind, more precisely, in the unconscious. Even your quote reflects a universal archetype, the warrior who faces adversity. That archetype resides in the human mind and guides your actions. The body is an extension, yes, but nothing more than that. An extension, an instrument that responds to the complex symphony of the unconscious. To me, the real battle isn't between the body and the external world, but within the mind, where conscious and unconscious forces are in constant conflict.
You both bring intriguing and complementary perspectives. Bruce, you see the body as an indispensable partner to the mind. Jung, for you, the body is a manifestation of the psyche. The question, then, is this: what is the primary driver of human action? Let's delve deeper.
Physical discipline is the foundation of any real progress. Training isn't just an exercise for the body, it's a school for the mind. Every punch you throw, every mile you run, every pain you endure is a lesson for the mind. You learn resilience. You learn to face adversity without hesitation. When I suffered my back injury, the doctors told me I would never fight again. The pain was immense, but instead of giving in, I focused on what I could control: my body. I started with small, painful movements, but they were consistent. Day after day, week after week, I rebuilt my strength. It wasn't my mind alone that pushed me forward. It was the constant physical practice that shaped my mental strength. When the body is disciplined, the mind becomes stronger. They aren't opposites, they are allies.
Bruce, your story is inspiring, but let me offer a different perspective. The strength you found didn't begin in your muscles. It began in your psyche. What made you persist when others would have given up? What kept you motivated, even when the results were uncertain? The answer lies in your mind. You speak of physical discipline, but discipline at its core is a mental construct. It wasn't the movement that created your mental strength, but the archetypes that guided you: the warrior, the survivor, the creator. These are patterns of the unconscious that shaped your journey. Now consider this. What happens when the mind is wounded? When psychological trauma is so deep that the body cannot respond? I've seen this many times in my clinical practice. Men and women with strong bodies yet paralyzed by doubt, fear, and the shadow of the unconscious. The mind, Bruce, is the engine, and when it fails, the body is just a machine without direction.
Jung, you are a master at unraveling the mysteries of the mind, but I disagree that the body is a passive machine. It is more than that. When you train the body, it begins to influence the mind. A simple example: breathing. In moments of pressure, a trained body knows how to breathe deeply, how to control the stress response. That's not just a mental skill, it's a reflection of physical conditioning. You mentioned people paralyzed by fear. I've seen that too, but I've also seen something else. When they're taught to confront their fears through physical movement, a firm posture, a fighting technique, their confidence returns. Physical action awakens mental courage. The body, when trained, can heal the mind.
And yet, Bruce, the courage you speak of doesn't come solely from the body. It is awakened because something within the mind is set free. Think of patients who couldn't move their bodies until they found meaning. A woman, for instance, unable to walk due to emotional trauma. Physical training wouldn't help her until she faced what was paralyzing her: guilt, fear. The mind governs the body on a deeper level than you may realize. When trauma remains unresolved, the body suffers. And when you train the body as you describe, you are training more than muscles, you are training the psyche. It's the meaning we assign to physical actions that makes the difference, not the physical act itself.
Interesting, Jung. But you're oversimplifying. Meaning, as you say, doesn't appear out of nowhere. It is built through practice. Training the body is more than moving muscles. It is teaching the mind that suffering can be overcome. I remember exhausting nights, sweat dripping, muscles burning, yet the mind was learning. I can do this. I'm stronger than I think. Physical discipline teaches lessons the mind alone cannot reach. And as for the woman you mentioned, perhaps what she needed was exactly that: movement, the opportunity to experience, through her body, that fear can be faced and conquered. Action is what turns potential into reality.
And yet, Bruce, the physical action you so highly value is still governed by the mind. Why did you choose to train despite the pain? Why do others, when faced with the same adversity, give up? The answer lies within the mind, in forces that are often unconscious. Consider what happens when someone begins to train. They are not just strengthening muscles. They are responding to something deeper, a need for inner transformation. That need is not physical, it is psychological. The body reflects the state of the mind, but it is the mind that gives meaning to the journey.
You say the body reflects the mind, but I say the mind also reflects the body. When I'm training, I feel it clearly. The mind is shaped by physical practice. It's a cycle, Jung. It's not that one governs the other, they influence each other. When a fighter steps into the ring, it's not just their mind or their body. It's the union of the two that creates strength.
I agree that the interaction exists, but I believe the mind is the origin. Even your dedication to physical discipline is a reflection of internal archetypes: the warrior, the seeker. You're not just training muscles, Bruce. You're responding to an internal narrative. And if the body is a reflection of the mind, then your physical strength and resilience are expressions of a deeper psychological strength. The true battle lies within the mind, where we confront our shadows and our fears. When you overcome physical adversity, you are truly overcoming something much greater within yourself.
An interesting point, but I ask you this: if the body doesn't act, how can the mind overcome anything? If I had remained paralyzed by pain, how would I have learned the lessons you speak of? Physical action is what awakens the mind. Without movement, without practice, the mind remains dormant.
And if the body acts without meaning, it becomes nothing more than an animal driven by instincts. True strength, Bruce, comes when the mind guides the body with purpose. And that purpose is born from the depths of the unconscious. Training the body is an expression of the psyche, but without the psyche there is no real strength. The mind is the root, and the body, the branch.
Perhaps what we need is not to decide which is more powerful, but to understand that real strength arises when both are in perfect harmony. When the mind guides the body, and the body inspires the mind. One without the other is incomplete.
Bruce, Jung, you've offered us fascinating reflections on the mind and body, each defending their roles with great eloquence. But listening to your argument, another question emerges. Are we even approaching this the right way? You speak of the mind as the leader and the body as the executor. Others might argue that the body is the foundation upon which the mind is built. But what if, in truth, the mind and body are not separate entities, but two expressions of a single force? If that's the case, perhaps the question we should explore isn't which is more powerful, but which is more trained in our lives. We train the body to act and endure, but do we give the mind the same level of preparation? Or conversely, do we live trapped in thoughts while neglecting the body? Consider this. Could our true strength come from the ability to integrate these two forces rather than separate them? Bruce, Jung, how does this vision of integration change the way we perceive the mind and body?
The body is the bridge between thought and action, between intention and reality. Without it, the mind is a formless idea, an unrealized potential. In the physical world, every achievement, from the simplest to the most extraordinary, depends on the body. If my mind conceives a movement, but my body is unable to execute it, what value does the thought hold? The mind can devise a brilliant strategy, but it's the body that brings it to life. For years, I refined my body so it could respond instantly to the commands of my mind. This connection is what allows me to act, fight, and create. Ultimately, the body is the only real instrument for transforming intention into reality.
An intriguing point, Bruce, but let me challenge you. The body can act, yes, but without mental direction, it is a machine without purpose. Consider a person in psychological collapse. They may have a perfectly healthy body, but if their mind is consumed by fear, doubt, or trauma, the body will not move. I've seen this countless times in my practice. Strong bodies paralyzed by invisible forces. The mind is like the captain of a ship, and the body is the ship itself. Without the captain to guide it, the ship is adrift on the currents. The body, Bruce, is not the final instrument, but merely an extension of the mind. If the mind fails, the body becomes useless.
And what if the ship is damaged, Jung? What good is a captain without a functional vessel? A sailor can navigate the most treacherous waters, but without a hull strong enough to withstand the pressure, they will sink. You mentioned psychological collapse, but I would argue that the solution often begins with the body. During my injury, my mind was also in conflict. The pain was constant, and doubt threatened to take over. But by focusing on physical training, even in small actions, my mind began to reorganize itself. Movement creates meaning. The body, through action, leads the mind out of darkness.
But where did the decision to act come from, Bruce? That drive to continue, to train, to fight against the pain. It didn't come from the body, but from something deeper within you. The will to live, the desire to overcome. These are products of the mind, or rather the unconscious. I ask you, what if your mind had been in total collapse, consumed by self-destructive thoughts or existential emptiness? Your body, no matter how trained, would still be incapable of purposeful action. Without the mind, Bruce, the body is like a sword without the hand to wield it, an object without meaning.
Allow me to return the question, Jung. What if your body were incapacitated, unable to act? Would you still be able to express your mind? The body is more than an object. It is the medium through which the mind manifests itself. When you write, your mind may create the words, but it's the body that holds the pen. When you speak, your ideas flow, but it's the body that gives them voice. If my body does not act, my mind cannot express itself. That is the reality of the physical world. You may explore the deepest mysteries of the psyche, but in the end, it is the body that gives form to those discoveries.
And yet, Bruce, the body is not independent. It reflects the state of the mind. Think of psychosomatic illnesses, cases where bodies fail because the mind is overwhelmed. Even the physical training you so highly value is, in truth, a reflection of mental processes. The desire to overcome, to train, to grow, all of this originates in the mind. The body is a tool, yes, but it is not autonomous. When you hold a pen, as you mentioned earlier, the action is governed by the mind. Without meaning, the action is empty. A body without purpose is merely motion without direction.
Then we're back to purpose, Jung. But purpose, like meaning, is learned through practice. I've seen people trapped in their own minds, unable to find direction. But when they started to move, running, fighting, breathing consciously, something changed. The body can be the catalyst that awakens the mind. You speak of psychosomatic illnesses, but I say that physical movement can be the cure for them. Action breaks the cycle of mental inertia. When the body acts, the mind responds.
And what if the mind cannot respond, Bruce? Consider people who cannot find the strength to act because they are trapped in unconscious cycles of guilt or trauma. Even the strongest body cannot function when the mind is destroyed. True strength comes from integration, but that integration begins in the mind. The archetypes, the forces that shape our psyche, are what drive us to act. Without them, the body is just an empty vessel. You speak of movement, but what motivates movement? It is not the body itself, but the desire and meaning born in the mind. The mind is the origin of all meaningful action.
And what if we are looking at this the wrong way, Jung? Perhaps true strength isn't about deciding which is more important, but recognizing that mind and body shape each other. The body inspires the mind, and the mind guides the body. It's a cycle, like a dance. I know this because I've lived it. When my body was at its weakest, it was movement, action, that reawakened my mind. They aren't separate, Jung. They are parts of a greater whole.
I agree that the interaction is essential, Bruce, but I believe the mind holds primacy. Without it, the body may act, but it acts without direction. In the end, it is the mind that gives meaning to existence. Perhaps, as you suggest, true strength lies not in separating them, but in integrating them. And perhaps that integration is humanity's greatest challenge, to balance mind and body in order to reach our full potential.
Bruce, Jung, this debate has been profound and thought-provoking. You've explored how the mind and body connect and influence each other. But let's bring this discussion to a more practical level. In the context of external challenges such as illness, loss, or failure, who truly endures better, the mind or the body? When we face the unexpected, is it physical resilience that saves us, or is it the strength of the mind that keeps us standing? Bruce, how does physical training help us overcome such moments? Jung, how can mental restructuring allow us to transcend even the limits of the body? Let's hear your perspectives.
Facing the unexpected demands a prepared body. Physical training isn't just about strength or speed, it teaches discipline and endurance. When you train, you learn to handle discomfort, pain, and failure. This doesn't just strengthen your muscles, it conditions your mind to persevere in the face of adversity. When I faced my injury, it was training that gave me a foundation to rebuild not just my body, but also my will. The pain of exercise teaches the mind to overcome the fear of pain. That physical resilience is the base that supports everything else.
I agree that physical resilience has value, Bruce, but it's the mind that transforms suffering into learning. In my practice, I've seen patients face severe illnesses and devastating losses. Those who found meaning in their experiences were the ones who truly transcended their pain. The mind can restructure reality, turning failure into wisdom. When we face external challenges, it's not the body that gives us purpose, but the mind that finds meaning in the chaos. True resilience begins within us.
Jung, throughout this debate, you've made a point I can't ignore. The power of the mind to give direction to the body. Without a clear mind, the body is like a dull blade, incapable of cutting even with all its strength. I think about my own training. Every movement, every technique demands absolute concentration. The mind is the guide. When it's scattered, the body becomes ineffective. That's why I agree that without the power of the mind, the body cannot reach its maximum potential. Mental discipline is what transforms ordinary movements into art. It's what turns a fighter into a master.
And I, Bruce, hearing your arguments, cannot ignore the importance of the body as an expression of the psyche. No matter how profound the unconscious may be, without a healthy body, its manifestation is limited. In my practice, I've seen people find relief not only in psychological insights, but also in physical actions. A walk in nature, the practice of dance, or even controlled breathing. The body isn't just a tool, it's an indispensable extension of the psyche. As you said, the body allows the mind to express itself. It is in the body that inner forces become visible. Without the body, the mind would be like a flame without a candle, light without form.
That's interesting, Jung. It seems that, in the end, we're speaking about the same thing but from different angles. I see the body as a catalyst for the mind, while you see the mind as the origin of everything. Perhaps we're both right, because mind and body are interdependent. When I'm in combat, there is no separation between thought and action. It's complete harmony. The mind leads, but the body responds instantly, without hesitation. There's no room for doubt. In this state of flow, I see the true integration of mind and body.
And in that state of flow, Bruce, we see how the mind and body are indeed aspects of a single system. Psychology refers to this as integration. When the mind and body work together as equal partners, we transcend our individual limitations. The mind without the body is an idea without form. The body without the mind is a structure without a soul. But when both are aligned, we find balance and purpose. This integration isn't just an ideal, it's a necessity for living fully.
I agree. Training the body without strengthening the mind is pointless. But training the mind without involving the body is also ineffective. It's in their combined practice that we grow. For example, in physical training, we face pain and discomfort. These challenges teach the mind to push beyond its limits. Similarly, The mind can inspire the body to achieve what once seemed impossible. There's no victory without this partnership. That's why I say, the mind leads, but the body executes. Only in the union of both do we find true strength.
And that's why I say, the body is the temple of the mind, but without the mind it is an empty structure. When we recognize that the mind and body are not separate entities but complementary expressions of who we are, we begin to understand our true potential. It's not about which is more powerful, but about how the two support one another. In my practice, I've seen people who started with physical changes and achieved emotional transformation. Others, who began with psychological insights, transformed their physical lives. This interdependence is what defines us.
I think we've reached a conclusion, Jung. True strength doesn't lie in the mind or the body alone, but in the harmony between the two. When we train both, we find balance. When we challenge both, we discover our true potential.
And when we integrate both, we transcend our limitations. The body and the mind are the tools that allow us to grow, but it's their union that makes us truly human.
The mind and the body, two inseparable aspects that define the human experience. Bruce Lee and Carl Jung have shown us today that this isn't a contest over which is more powerful, but a recognition of how the mind and body shape and strengthen each other. Bruce emphasized that the body is the only means to transform intention into reality. Jung revealed that the purpose guiding our actions is born from the depths of the unconscious. Two different paths, yet both pointing to the same truth. True strength lies in integration. Now the reflection turns to you. How have you been training your mind and body? Are you strengthening both or neglecting one in favor of the other? Do you resonate more with Bruce Lee's practical philosophy or Carl Jung's psychological depth? Write in the comments, Bruce or Jung, and share how you strive for balance in your life. If this debate made you think, give this video a like and subscribe to the channel to keep exploring ideas that challenge and inspire. What idea impacted you the most today? Comment below. And don't forget to suggest the next debate. How about Nietzsche versus Viktor Frankl? Exploring whether life is about overcoming or finding purpose. Or maybe Aristotle versus Buddha, discussing reason versus intuition? Your suggestions drive this channel forward, so let's know your thoughts. In the end, mind and body are not adversaries but inseparable partners. The mind inspires us to dream. The body gives us the power to act. As Bruce and Jung have shown us, the true challenge in life isn't choosing between one or the other, but integrating them in harmony. And you? Are you ready for this journey of balance? See you in the next episode of The Great Debates, where history's greatest minds continue to challenge our ideas and illuminate the present.